Please enjoy this message from David Arquette sent in by the fabulous Carrie Tenney.
Hey Ryan, how are you? Thanks for doing the Scream podcast.
Like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
You are listening to Scream with Ryan C. Showers, the podcast for Scream fans just like you. Join Ryan every week as he takes a deep dive into the horror film series that defined the 90s and redefined the genre. Scream with Ryan C. Showers is your source for scene and quote analysis, character dissections, and the latest news about upcoming installments of the Scary Movie franchise.
I hear you like horror movies, Curly, but do you like them as much as him?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. I truly appreciate everybody out there who supports the podcast either by listening every week, supporting me on social media, or subscribing to the Patreon. So if you haven't subscribed to the Patreon of Scream with Ryan C. Showers, there are so many amazing opportunities that come along with this. So in season 6, we're going to be offering what I'm calling 30 Years of Scream, 30 Questions, a Scream with Ryan C. Showers interview. So this will be offered to eligible patrons after 3 months of subscription. You get to come on with me for 30 minutes and have an interview where I ask you 30 speed round questions, but also some deep questions about Scream and your Scream personality and what Scream means to you and how you've also experienced Scream since it's come back to life in the mainstream. That is coming in season 6. Subscribe and you can come on and have a one-on-one with me and celebrate 30 years of Scream for its 30th anniversary. In addition to the interview that's coming in season 6, joining the Patreon gets you access to our community group chats on Instagram. You can come to the group Zooms, which are held quarterly, and the eligibility to come on the podcast with me for main topic episodes by request. Also with the Patreon comes a monthly bonus episode. For most months, I'm going to be releasing an audio commentary of a Scream movie or a Scream-related film. Some months we'll be releasing a group Zoom episode on Patreon that is just released to the Patreon, not the public. I've really enjoyed doing the audio commentaries. I have a library of them at this point. I've done the first 4 Scream films. I've done Halloween. I've done A Nightmare on Elm Street. I've done Halloween H2O. I Know What You Did Last Summer, etc., etc., etc. And I'm so excited to continue doing these as we go into season 6. I need to thank the producers of the podcast. They include TJ Jones, who does all the graphic design work for the episode title cards. I need to thank Ashley Summers, who is my Taylor Swift girl. She helps me with the Taylor Swift song of the week, but also with the Scream game of the week that you can find on Instagram. Usually we post on Wednesday or Thursday mornings, and you can find her at SquirrelandSpud9 on Instagram. And I also need to thank my friend Fernando. He is FN Prescott on Instagram, and he also runs the Isabel May Online Instagram profile. He helps me with posts throughout the week to keep the social media and Scream love alive. I've had many wonderful experiences and adventures with this podcast, including being on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. Back in 2022, I was interviewed by the Wall Street Journal. So crazy. But none of this would be possible without the people who follow me and support me on social media. So if you haven't subscribed to my profiles there, I'm Scream with RCS across social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. Also, if you could please do me a solid and give me 5 stars on Apple or Spotify, that would really go a long way and help me out. In addition, I need to thank the stab investors and daddy ghost faces of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. First, Mama Ghostface, I need to thank Carrie Tenney. I also need to thank daddy ghost faces Corey Wilson, Brett Genovich, and Andrew Dominguez. I need to thank stab investors, including Josh Carr, Amar Karim, Kevin Abner, Allie, Roy Garza, Stevie Shears, P. Dougie05, Gustavo Mora, Mark Vieira, Scream Queens Podcast, both Josh and Justine, Joey Nobarini, aka The Vault, Ryan Not Dying Young, David D, Jess Mariano, Sam Levy, Tamika Jones, Cameron Gasway, Josh Camillari, Ivan Valance, Christian Ranke, and John Cardy. All right, everyone, thank you. Please enjoy the rest of the episode and consider subscribing to the Patreon, and you can come on for your Scream interview. 30 years of Scream, 30 questions. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. So, I'm joined by my friend Kelly here. She hasn't been on the podcast since, I think, properly, like one on one here, like this, since October, November of 2024. We talked about the Scream 4 finale, and that was such a fun episode. I love this girl. I haven't gotten her thoughts on Scream 7 yet. I can't wait to go through that. And we're going to talk about a major theme in Scream 7, which is family. So exciting to go through all of this information with her. So, everyone, please welcome my friend Kelly. Hey, Kelly.
Hey.
Well, Kelly, what did you think of Scream 7?
Okay, I loved it. I saw it in theaters opening weekend probably like 5 times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I went by myself because I wanted to I was really like just kind of like uptight about it. I wanted to go in like I had completely gotten rid of social media. I wanted to like go in with like a clear, fresh like head and start. And the trailers, the trailer scared me a little bit because I felt like it gave a little too much away. Like I was kind of like bummed out by it. But no, the first time I loved it. I absolutely when they revealed Jessica low key, I genuinely thought they were gonna go the route of like her being Leslie Mocker. I was like, here it is, like she's going to be Stu's sister. Like that's the connection. That's why it's so Stu focused. So like when I first saw it, I will say like I was a little disappointed because I felt like they could have done a little bit more with it. But then like I saw it the second time and like every single time, like it just opened up a new kind of like avenue for me and like I just kept loving it. Like it and then by Sunday night I was like this is probably like one of my most favorite installments in the franchise. Like how they did everything. I just think it was so beautifully done. The kills were fun. It with the ghost face was scary. Like I loved bringing the nostalgia part back, but I love seeing Sydney in a completely new role as a mom. I love seeing it like her family dynamic and then the ending was just it was just so perfect.
Well, so, what you described is pretty much what I've heard from people like, overall is like that they saw the finale for the first time and they were maybe a bit underwhelmed by it, a little confused, didn't really understand what she was talking about or what the movie was going for. And then second viewing, it's like bam. And then third viewing, it's like, oh my God. And like that is truly how I think that Scream 7 is going to age. It's going to be,
Mhm.
speaking of Scream 4, the Scream 4 finale, it's going to be like
Yeah.
a Scream 3 and a Scream 4. It's the thing about the Scream 7 finale is it's very esoteric. It's very complicated. It's very mysterious. It's conceptual. It's unlike the others. And I think that's why people are getting tripped up. But I truly believe in my heart and my bones that Jessica, as a killer and a camp as a performance, and like what the motive represents and what it's going for and what it says about her and the depth of her, I truly believe Scream 7 has it going on.
She truly the way she delivered her lines, it gave me so much of a Stu Mocker, like, Scream 1 like, you laugh when he's like, "You hit me with a phone, dick." Like, it just there's so many amazing lines in the first finale. I haven't laughed like that since the first finale. When she turns around, she's like, "I'm talking, okay?" Like, like, the sass that they have with each other, and then she's like, "Fuck, where am I going?" It was just the way she delivered her lines to me was just I thought it was like, I was laughing in the theater. I thought it was so well done.
Well, so, I have to ask before we go any farther with the movie is it's a twofold question. One, I want to know, of course, your updated ranking, but also how do you kind of like take Scream 7 and reflect upon it after living through Scream 5 and 6? We have Sydney back. I
Mhm.
know that you wanted Sydney back, and I get the sense from you that this feels like a true like return to form in the same way that it does for me. What are your thoughts?
Mhm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think 5 and 6 were fun, like, don't get me wrong, they were fun, but like, if I'm gonna go back and rewatch the series, like, I would almost just omit 5 and 6, like and there's a lot of people online that are like, "Well, then just, if you don't like 5 and 6, then just say you don't like Scream, just say you like Sydney Prescott." I'm sorry, Sydney Prescott is Scream. You cannot have like, the series is fun, don't get me wrong, the MTV series, but, like, you go in knowing it is not the movies, it is not that franchise, like, it is a completely different entity all on its own. So you can separate movie from TV show and have a great time. With the movies, like yeah, they're fun, but to me, they are not Scream. They are not Ghostface. Like Sydney Prescott is Scream. And so like you can't give me that argument that like, oh, if you don't like 5 and 6, then you don't like Scream. Like, no, I mean, there's a reason Sydney Prescott, there's a reason Scream 7 had such a huge opening. It's because she is the franchise. She is synonymous with Ghostface. Like you can't have one without the other.
And like I think that's such an unfair thing to say because like when
Yeah.
people say that about like, let's just say for any of the Friday the 13th sequels, if you dislike any of those sequels or if you want to skip it's, 9 and 10, does that make you not a Friday the 13th fan? Like that's such a bad faith thing and especially because, Wes Craven designed Scream in such a sensory way. Like there's a look and there's a feel and there's a vibe about the Scream movies and there's like a science behind the way he made them. And I think that you can look at Wes's science and perhaps
Mhm.
what Radio Silence did and how they concocted those two films, and then what Kevin does, and you can say, you know what, the Radio Silence films they just didn't feel like Scream, and that's okay. And then for the people out there who do love Scream 5 and 6 and think that's their definitive version of Scream, by all means have fun, But I do think that it's completely fair to say that like 7 kind of fits in with 1, 2, 3, and 4 as like what Scream means to you. I would probably identify a lot with that myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the only franchise that it seems like people it's like you have to like all of them or you don't like any of them, and it's just so wild to me that there's such a stigma on that,
You know what
like
that
none of
says
the
to
other.
me?
What?
That says to me that people are insecure about 5 and 6. Like if Scream 5 and 6 are so great, then they should be able to stand on their own, and people shouldn't be guilt tripped into them. Like, do you hear like people like me trying to guilt trip everybody into liking Scream 7, who is
Yes,
hating on it? No, like just get the fuck out of here. I'm confident in my movie. So,
exactly, exactly.
well, so Kelly, what is your updated ranking now?
Okay, so I go back and forth because someone did comment on your post, and I do have to agree. It's like for some reason, one being in the ranking is like it feels weird because you can't have the sequels without the original. So, but like to me, so like it feels weird ranking Scream one like further, but I'm still gonna have to go two. So it's gonna be 2, 1, 3, 7, 4, 6, 5.
Ooh, I like it. So this is fun. I mean, I love having like
Yeah.
a non-Scream one up front. That's really fun in Scream 2. And I remember like whenever we did, I think the Jawbreaker episode, right? I remember you talking about how like the original trilogy arcs for you with Scream 3 and like how much you would like love those first three films. So I think Seven's placement here is really, really awesome. So do you have anything you want to share about your ranking?
I loved your last episode when you were talking when they were, if you love Scream 4, then you inherently kind of like love Scream 7. It's kind of like a swinging door. It's some days I like Scream 4 more than Scream 7, and then when I watch Scream 7, I like Scream 7 better. But the original trilogy is just it's up there for me. This one, Scream 7, is right up there with the nostalgia of 3. So when I watch 3, it makes me homesick for Scream 1. And it just kind of like I love it. I love it so much because it just brings up so much nostalgia. And I remember when I watched Scream 3 in theaters, I remember like being so giddy over Scream 3. And Scream 7, I got the same feelings. Like when I was watching it in the theater, I felt like such a little kid. Like I just all the callbacks, the music, like opening up with Sydney's lament, like it was like instant, just like tears kind of. It just felt really nostalgic and it felt really good, but not in like a cheesy, campy way. Like it felt like it tied everything together and brought it back home. Seven's up there. Like, who knows? You might talk to me in a few months and 7 might be even higher than, 3. So I don't know.
Well, and you know what? To be fair to 7 and Scream 4, like 7 is so fresh. I mean, like I feel like the people who love Scream 7, like us, we feel like it's been a part of us and been a part of our lives and our Scream life for such a long time.
Mhm.
Even though it hasn't, we've had it for maybe like 3 months at most. So it's for it to be like in that revolving door that you described with Scream 4. Great, that's awesome. I think it just needs time to further settle. And I truly believe that Scream 7 is the type of movie that as you watch it more and more, it gets better and better. And we also just need to kind of live with it and let it breathe and let it find its place in history as opposed to being something so fresh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think I came around to Scream 5's motive, like, I really did. Like, when I first watched it, like, I was pissed. Like, I thought it was the stupidest motive, everything. But then, like, when you start getting involved with the fandoms and you start seeing, like, maybe they weren't so far-fetched and maybe it wasn't such a crazy motive and, like, maybe there is a lot of, like, meta and truth to it. And I feel like Scream 7 is going to have that same effect. The way that people who hated Scream 5 eventually they, slowly came around to it. I think the people that hated Scream 7 will eventually come around the same exact way. And I hope they do. But like, I'm already seeing how just like true that motive is for Jessica. And I feel like they hit it on the head as well with every single, like they've always been ahead of their time. And I feel like this is not going to be any different.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, so Kelly, before we talk about the theme of family in Scream 7, I kind of want to just get a lay of the land for you as it pertains to like the main characters in Scream 7. Like, so Sydney, Tatum, Gail, even if you want to throw in the twins and Mark, what did you think of the characters here?
I'll start, I guess, from the bottom in my mind. So with the twins, I really I thought they were unbearable in the sixth film, and so when I found that they were coming back, I was like, okay, well, they're just gonna get killed off, and I was okay with that. And then the more involved they like in their scenes, the more that they were involved, the more I loved them. Like I actually thought they were really funny. I thought they were a great addition. I love seeing their dynamic with Gail and Gail kind of taking them under, her wing. And I really like seeing that. And I truly liked their addition to the film. And then I liked the friend group. I thought they were cute. I loved McKenna Grace. I love her in general, but I thought the friend group was really great. I really liked their chemistry. Really loved Gail's vulnerability in this one. I really loved how they showed that, she's not okay. She mentally or physically, and would be 100% okay not having a Scream 8. And I know that probably get me a lot of backlash because I think Scream 7 was so perfect that I would be 100% okay if it ended with Scream 7 because I felt like it was so complete. But it makes me worried if there is a Scream 8 with Gail and how she was in this film. I'm like, there's no way she's going to make it. So like, it makes me kind of nervous for that because I don't want to see her go. But I think, just with like her vulnerability and frailness and how she was recovering, I hope maybe she gets stronger, but it kind of worried me on that.
What you said about Scream 7 almost kind of being like the end of the story in a way. If there was no Scream 8, I'm more amenable to that than you would think based off of like me because like I do want it to
Mhm.
continue. I want Sydney and Gail to be involved. My big takeaway from Scream 7 as it pertains to Jessica as the Ghostface and the way the story focuses and explores Sydney, Tatum, Gail in that order in terms of the length and like the depth. I think it reminded me like, oh, this is what Scream is supposed to feel like. This is the true Scream. Like this is like what feels good about Scream. And I would love for it to continue for them to use kind of like the template that they did here. Like the successes of Scream 7 with these, main characters. That's what Scream should be going forward as well.
Yeah.
We need to stop dicking around with like, subplots like this. Like we had with Scream 5 and 6. But that being said, it's Scream 7, it gives us so much fulfillment of
Mhm.
Sydney and Gail specifically. And like there is this overarching it feels like the franchise has been fulfilled because Sydney is open with her daughter and it kind of sets free all of the sins of the past, whether that was Maureen Prescott being closed off with Sydney and her past, or whether that was Sam's mom in Scream 5. The franchise is finally free of its central theme. So in a way, I would be fine with Scream 7 being the ending. And I think that like regardless of whenever we get Scream 8 and 9, and if Scream 9 is able to make a good ending for this storyline and our characters, I think Scream 7 is going to be looked at like a Halloween H2O, where even though that's not the end, it is the end for a lot of people. Now, long story short, I think that you're absolutely right. Gail and Sydney, I don't know how we get better than this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's every single thing came full circle. Relationships just felt healed. At the end of Scream 7, I felt the exact same way I felt when I saw Scream 3. Like, I will never, like, it was like you were at peace with everything. Like, you loved the characters' journeys. You loved seeing what they did, where they were going in their lives. And then you could kind of envision how it was going to play out for them based on how it wrapped up. And so I really, really like that. Like, I felt just a really great, like, peace after all of it. Like, I felt truly fulfilled and just, satiated. Like, I just loved it. And I loved Tatum. She was such a great addition. Like, I personally do not think anyone else could have played Sydney's daughter,
Yeah.
is better. And I've told you before, and I'll say it here, but like, when they first announced that Patrick Dempsey was coming back, I was so excited. Loved it. I love the chemistry between him and Nev. I think he is just so great. I think he would have been great in the franchise. And I was really bummed when they said he was not going to be in the movie. And then when they cast Joe McHale, I was really, really nervous. And then I saw him in Yellow Jackets and I thought, you know what? They're onto something. They're onto something. He could truly play a serious role, like a gritty role. And I really like that for him. And then seeing him in the movie, truly walking away as one of my favorite characters in the franchise. I loved, and we can get into this later, I loved his dynamic with Sydney. I loved the family dynamic of them and her picking someone who is on her level with like protection. And because, Sydney's not going to want somebody who is a goofy cop like Dewey. And that's my first initial reaction when I thought Joe McHale was coming in. I thought, oh, great, they're going to replace Dewey and they're going to have this like gimmicky cop. And when you see it, you're like, no, of course not. That's not who Sydney would have gone for. Like, she needs someone who is on her level, who she can trust, who she knows is going to have her back. Like, it was the best chemistry. I just absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Well, so before we talk about the theme of family, which kind of Mark represents in a way, please tell me about Sydney and seeing her again and like this representation of her and Nev's performance and everything that we explored with her here.
It's like one of the best that she's ever looked. I just loved it. I loved everything about her. Seeing her as a mom, just because as I'm a mom as well, and it was really excited to see her play this role and kind of go into a new adventure. When you become a parent, you start thinking of like all the worst case scenarios from like day one. Like I will never forget postpartum having the thoughts that I had, like, oh my gosh, like what if something happened? Like your literal heart is outside of your body walking around. Like that's the best way I can describe having a child. Like that's what it is. Like your heart is on two legs and you cannot control what happens to it. Seeing Sydney play it was so good. It was so raw. It felt like I loved it. In the finale when she says, Tatum, I'm so sorry. Just as a mom, like you felt that like raw, like she really was doing everything in her power. And like she really thought she was doing everything she could. And, despite our best efforts to break generational trauma or to not be our parents, we end up in some way, shape, or another still feeling a sense of failure. And I thought she was just phenomenal. Like I loved it. I love seeing Sydney. I loved her in this new role, but I love the way Nev played it. Like it was so good. No notes.
I'm like sitting over here like on the verge of tears.
Just thinking about it is just wild. But it truly is like you, from the day you have a child, it's like your only focus on earth is and I don't have near the trauma Sydney Prescott does, but the fact that she felt safe enough with Mark to bring a child, and she felt safe in her life to bring a child, knowing her past, knowing what could happen in the future. And, she, made it this far, and it just to see it play out as a mom, to see everything that you try to do just not work. And it's just, you can't control it. You cannot control outside forces. And that's the shittiest part about being a parent is like, you can have as much control as you want and can. And you can, when they're little, they are under your control and you can shape their lives and make sure they're safe. But then as soon as you send them out, it's like, God, I hope I did my best. And I hope this was it. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Well, Kelly, like you kind of just like I'm like you washed over me like a wave with that. I'm just like everything you said is like completely spot on, and it takes, I guess, sometimes a mom to really articulate things like even in this movie that I think I know so well. And like with this character that I think I know so well, you made me think about Sydney and like even just that line, Tatum, I'm so sorry, in ways that like I could never imagine, and just like the weight of every scene that led up to that, and Sydney's actions trying to protect her. It just really kind of like blew my mind here.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's that part. And then I love the cheekiness of her when she is on the phone with who she thinks is Stu, or even Ghostface when we hear Roger Jackson's voice and she's talking to him and she's like, yeah, well, you're going to have to find me or you're hiding or something. And then it switches over and she's just kind of like cutting it up with Ghostface. And then he, turns into Stu and on the AI, computer. And she's like, oh crap, like this might be real, but she's still kind of like, not like being chummy with him, but she's still kind of like, oh yeah, well, if you're real, show your face. Like, I'm not scared of you. And then the moment he mentions her daughter, I love the way her face and her tone just completely shifts. And she's like, stop, like, do not fucking talk about my daughter. And like that right there, that's mama bear. Like that is true. That is a true parent. You can mess with me, you can joke, like you can fuck with me, you can try to hurt me, whatever. I'm steel. Like you're not, I'm bulletproof. Like I'm fine, whatever. But the moment you bring up my child, oh my God, like you're fucked. Like I'm going to kill you. So
Well, so Kelly, you proposed this episode topic to me, or you responded to one of my Instagram posts whenever I
yeah.
made it about the family unit here, which is Sydney, Mark, and Tatum. And they have two other daughters, of course, but we don't really get to spend that much time with them. And as I kind of thought about this topic of family in Scream 7, I think it goes farther than people even realize. I think it not only touches, of course, the central family with the Evans, right? But it also touches in Chad and Mindy and even their dynamic. Like, not only them, we see, Jessica and Lucas in that version of family. And also, this is a really sad thought to think, but like you also have Gail Weathers, where it's like she did have family, but her family was taken away from her. And now this is what her life is like without that family, meaning Dewey, and how she
Yeah.
kind of goes through life, kind of worn down, like you said, physically and mentally and emotionally. And I've had some arguments with people recently about the twins and people being like, well, Ryan, how are they so much better in 7 than 6? And I loved what you said earlier. I kind of laughed at the description, how you said that they were unbearable in Scream 6. And I think that the reason why they work better here is actually the theme of family and the fact that we get to see them as brother and sister. And I think, Scream has always been about family. And it feels so weird because, Scream 5 and 6, they try to do the family theme with the sisters. But here, I don't know what about it, but the concept of the brother and sister, they're locked in so much better, like in terms of understanding each other, like the way that each of them kind of jokes around, thinks, and like, and they bounce back and forth. I think that they represent actually a really good version of family. And when you add up all of these pieces, whether it be the Evans family, the Gail missing her family, the Meeks kind of as like brother and sister here, and Jessica and like this really sick and twisted version of family where, she
Mhm.
kills both her son and her husband. She kills her family. I think this all adds up to like one of the strongest depictions of the theme of family in the entire franchise.
Absolutely. And I don't know if it's because the twins do have a connection to Randy. And so, like, they feel as if, like, they're complete with the Woodsboro crew. Like, it's one of those, they have, like, a deeper connection to, to Sydney and Gail, and they kind of, like, round that out. Like, I don't know if it's why they fit better. I don't know if it's the writing. I don't know if it's the people that they're with, or if they just focus too much on the sisters and not enough on, I don't know. It's so hard to explain, but it just felt more natural. They weren't over the top. You know what I mean? I just feel like they were written to be so just, I don't know, like a Randy replacement almost.
And yet here, they don't feel like that at all. And I think that, like, I mean, they don't really have scenes with Sydney and Gail, to be honest. Like, their scenes
Yeah.
are with each other. And I think that's what makes them so interesting is seeing the family of it all play out within even just them. And the fact that they kind of like have stuck together post college, I think is actually really interesting. Before we dive into, because I think, like, mostly you're going to want to talk about like Mark and like the Evans of it all. But I
Yeah.
do want to just kind of highlight this, it's so many times, like when I was watching Scream 7 in preparation for this recording, when I hear the words family, I just want to read some lines. Okay. So Ghostface
Okay.
says to Sydney on the phone, before it turns into Stu at the coffee shop, Ghostface says something to the effect, blah, 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 blah. Now that you're busy with your husband and family, Ben says to Sydney, Sydney and Tatum, it's fine. It's fine. Go be with your family. Whenever Sydney says he can't come with them. And then whenever Sydney's talking to Gail, she doesn't want to help with the investigation at first. And she says, I need to be with my family and keep them safe. And then you have all of like the little allusions to family in the AI montage where, Mrs. Loomis emphasizes my son. Roman says, hey, sis. It really comes down to family, how far we go for family. I think all of these lines really, every time even the word family is used, it sticks out to me. It makes me react, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that, when you add in that and then you add in just like the display of family with Sydney and Mark and Tatum throughout the film, and the representation of family. I think it's just so beautifully done. And I have to say, it feels so wholesome. It feels so warm and safe. It feels so comforting to see a family depicted in such a connected way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's like the way that some of them say family, it's almost as if it's like that's their handicap. Like it's like their vulnerable place, but they want you to feel that like having a family puts you in this like glass box and everything is fragile and everything is going to, fall apart. But like the house scene, if that tells you anything, it's the complete opposite. Like this is a strong family, and this family is it's not going to bring you down. Like having a family is not going to be the death of you. It's what makes you want to live.
Yeah, and like, it's interesting, the scene at the house, which I think you're
Yeah.
referring to is like the big set piece whenever before Gail arrives, right?
Yeah.
So, it's so interesting to me because I've heard so many compliments on that scene. In my opinion, I think the way people are going to talk about that scene is going to be like the way that we talk about the cop car in Scream 2 or Gail's chase
Yeah.
or like the Stab 3 set, like these legendary scenes, and it's not lost on me that that is the sequence that is about Ghostface coming into the home of and disrupting the family, and it's Ghostface versus the Evans family, and they literally work as a team, not only at the beginning where Sydney and Mark are kind of like, trying to go up on Ghostface, but Tatum and Mark, Sydney and Tatum, Sydney and Mark, they literally work as a team to best this Ghostface, and it's ironically Gail Weathers who saves them, the person who doesn't have a family and who's kind of who sees Sydney as her family. So it's very beautiful, the way that they work together in that scene as fighters, yet also throughout the film, and the way that there's a push and pull to the representation of family. We see Sydney and Mark so loving with each other. We see Tatum and Sydney sometimes loving, oftentimes duking it out. But we also see Sydney and Mark, being honest with each other. So, what are your thoughts, Kelly?
I want to know more about the Evans family prior to this film. Like, I want to know how Sydney and Mark met. I want to know, like, how, because in that house scene, I think what makes it so fun is that they are all working in tandem. Like, it's like they had a plan if this was ever to happen, with the head nods and he yells and it distracts Ghostface. Tatum's able to run and get away. And then they all understand like what they're and you can see it in the finale as well. Like when Sydney nods to her and she breaks free and stuff. So they have something set in place. But what's also so interesting is that Tatum seemed to be shocked that they had a closet that was a safe room. So, like, I wanna know, like, because you don't tell your kids everything, but you wanna tell them enough for them to be prepared, but so, like, I kinda just wanna know that dynamic. I'm that house scene, I think, is just one of the greatest scenes. Again, I was talking about earlier, watching it, I was giddy. I was giddy during that scene. It worked so well. "Why'd you turn the lights off? I thought you did." And from that moment, it just snaps into place and you're like, "Here we go." Like, it's going to be so good. You see them really work together, and then, I mean, just Gail coming in and just running them over is the best thing, and immediately just seeing the twins, like, everything building up to that moment, and then just, like, unveiling Ghostface is just probably one of the best scenes, so
Can I just like chime in here about that? An underrated moment in that sequence is actually so Gail hits Ghostface, right? He goes down, kaboom.
yeah.
And then we go to Sydney and Mark before Gail gets out of the car, and it happens so fast that people may not even remember it. But Sydney and Mark kind of take the moment, and before they even go to Ghostface and try to unmask him, right? They take the moment just to make sure that each other is okay, and they say "I love you" to each other. And I know this sounds kind of cheesy of me, but there's something so beautiful and nostalgic about that. I feel like we rarely see married couples portrayed in this way anymore in modern movies. I don't know, maybe there's something old-fashioned about it. I don't know, but I think it shows and like strengthens this argument that Sydney has formed such a beautiful life for herself, a normal life free from her baggage. And I love that like we in that moment that's what feels natural and urgent for Sydney.
If Sydney was feeling even an ounce of what we were like, at least I'm speaking for myself, when I watched that scene, I was like, "Oh, he's sexy." Like, that is so sexy. A man who is like, just he's taking charge. He's like, "I'm staying here. It's my job to protect this family. It's my job." And like seeing him fight and stuff, like That's exactly what I would be saying to my husband, like, "Oh my god, I love you. Like, you're the best. Like, this is why I chose you. Like, this is why we work. This is why I want to have a family with you." Like, it kind of encapsulated all of it. Like, it was kind of like a affirmation for her, kind of like just confirming that, yeah, you like, this is the love of your life and this for a reason, you know?
And again, it feels so real. So the scene in like the next day, right? In the
Mhm.
bedroom where Sydney and Mark and Tatum are all in the master bedroom and they're just talking, arguing, thinking. I don't know about you, and this may be just like a Ryan Showers thing that I experience with my family, but like my family does that. Like whenever I'm at my mom's house, like, we kind of like congregate in her room sometimes if we're talking about something serious, like we'll be walking in and out of her room. It felt very normal to me. It's something I recognize about Scream 7 that was human. It was unspokenly human, where Scream 7 wasn't like doing something groundbreaking or revolutionary, but it just felt authentic to what a family is and what a family does and how they operate on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like every room in the house is a swinging door. Like like you just come and go. I mean, that's how it is at our house too. Like there's, no privacy. We kind of just go in and out. We're in every room together. Like we just talk and I felt kind of with that with the Mark and Sydney dynamic and the family dynamic when Tatum comes in wearing that jacket and Sydney kind of lashes out at her. And then she turns to Mark and she's like, "When do they get nice again?" And he's like, "That's kind of on you. Like you did that." To me, that's real too. A husband to love his wife and, care for his wife, but to also be like, "Hey, what you're doing is not cool either. Like I'm going to have your back, but also like I'm gonna check you too." So that's kind of like that exactly is something that my husband and I like. I feel like we have those kind of conversations too, where it's like, hey, I'm still gonna keep you in check. Like I'm gonna love you, I'm gonna support you, I'm gonna have your back. But I'm also gonna, check you when you're kind of out of line, kind of thing. So like
Yeah.
it just every interaction with those three and those two, like whether it be Sydney and Mark or Sydney and Tatum or all three of them, everything just felt natural. I was like, "Yeah, I've had those conversations," or, "Yeah, I've done that," or, "Yeah, my son, he's only 5, but sometimes he acts like a freaking teenager."
Well, and also, isn't it's so thematically on point for the finale to take place in Sydney's home. It's the first time we've had a finale in Sydney Prescott's house. The people who are in the finale or what the killers are doing to her in that finale is like showing Sydney's family tied up in front of her. It's like kind of dangling Sydney's husband and daughter, Tatum's tied to the chair. Mark is bleeding out within an inch of his life after being stabbed. And it's just like, see, look what we did, Sydney. We took your family and look how we are trying to destroy it. Look how we're torturing you with it. And I love that within the finale, Sydney allowing Jessica to talk and giving her the moment to have a monologue. It allows Sydney and Mark and Tatum to all three almost like, psychologically strategize with each other to get free and take down the killers. And it's interesting too that like as I kind of alluded to earlier, like Jessica, she's this woman who killed her husband and her son. She killed her family, and yet the contrast to that is Sydney and Mark and Tatum working together as a family, and they're the ones who win in the end. Do you know what I mean? So, and all of that while Jessica is literally questioning Sydney's motherhood, asking her if she's been a good mom to Tatum, and that's when the battle erupts. So even the pressure point of the finale is this question of family in the home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it's, like, I've always kind of looked at Jessica as, like, a mirror of Sydney, but, like, a darker Sydney. Like, she didn't care that her son had to die, and, she didn't care that her family was ripped to shreds, and she kinda thrived off of it, and she needed it to kind of, quote, unquote, "better herself," whereas Sydney is going through the ends of the earth to protect her family, and so I've loved that, like, night and day contrast to both of them. It's like you're standing there face to face with someone who, is okay with killing her child, but then to have the audacity to be like, "Have you been a good mother?" And it's like, "Bitch, you just said your own son had to die." Like, how are you even like, how's that even a question? Like, it just kind of gives her some validity of just, like, how crazy she is and how delusional she thinks.
Broadly too. Like I think that like in Scream 6, they were trying to go for this this theme of family within the core four, like this theme of chosen family. And like as a gay person, I can understand how that's important, the idea concept of chosen family. But I think that like overall, the execution here is much stronger. The relationships, the ties between Mark and Sydney and Tatum, they feel so much stronger, and it feels like such a better like grouping. And you can feel the history with them, and you can feel the chemistry with them in a way that I don't feel like you can feel it with the core four. The core four, by contrast, it feels so forced, and the Evans family, it feels so natural in a way.
It's the so with the core four, yes, it felt like they were trying to copy the original trio chemistry. Like, and I think we've talked about that prior to on the podcast as well. It's like it feels like it's gimmicky. It feels like they're trying to kind of obtain this sort of Gail, Sydney, and Dewey thing,
Right.
and they're trying to like copy and paste it. But the thing is with Sid, I don't think it would ever work with the friends because no matter what you've been through, there's always going to be a level of distrust there. And you're never really going to have that with Sydney and her family. And it's what I loved about Scream 7 is the scene when she kicks Ben out of the house and she goes back to her bedroom and she's talking to Mark and they're talking about like when they lost their virginities and that like really cute little scene. At no point did Scream 7 try to make that a like, oh, he lied to her kind of thing. And oh, like he wasn't being truthful with her. And oh, like could he be a red herring? Like she 100% trust, loves him. Like there is a bond there that like just can't be broken. It never crossed her mind and it never crosses our mind either because it just feels like something that's just so just like real and solid.
And that's the thing. We see like it's not just like that we're told that Mark is a good guy. We can trust him, right? We see him taking
Yeah.
her seriously. We see him taking her concerns as legit. Mark never makes her feel stupid or dumb or hysterical about, the call that she gets from Stu and like her concerns afterwards. Like they are on the same page, they are united. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this theme of family because families, there's a push and pull, and we see that a lot in Scream 7. You described it as well. And at the end, Sydney and Mark are pretty much united throughout the film, even with subtle disagreements. But at the end, Sydney and Tatum are completely united, and we see that with the shot when they're finishing off Jessica. Like the way that the frame is composed, it just feels like wow, they are a united front, and it's like they made it.
When she calls him and says, "So there's a killer and he's at the school." The way he immediately flips on that thing and like cuts off the conversation with the other cop and he's like, "We got to go. We need backup to the school." And like it's just there's never an ounce of like hesitation with them. God, that's the kind of family or love or, kind of support everyone should have.
No, I agree. And I just want to like kind of take it back 1 second. Like, I just feel like the Evans family, they feel so interconnected in a way that the core four and Scream 6 didn't. But what's also interesting is like they're so strong as a family unit, yet as soon as Chad and Mindy and Gail arrive, in a way, but by them like opening up their home to Gail and the twins, you can feel like they're being integrated into their family in a way that feels natural, that the film doesn't have to tell us like, oh, look at us, look what we're doing. We're making the successful six, So we're not. It's not doing that because Gail to Sydney is another form of family. Like there's a very powerful moment whenever like. First of all, Gail saves Mark, and Sydney and Tatum in that moment whenever she kills Carl. But like also, Sydney is with Tatum and Mark, and they're all hugging on the road after Gail's entrance. And Sydney is with them for a little bit until she goes away to go meet Gail. And I love that it's almost like they aren't related by blood, sure, or marriage, sure, but it's another form of family, in the way that Gail, she doesn't have her family. Her family has been taken from her by the events of Ghostface, and yet throughout the years and this complex relationship that they have a familial bond that is deep, comparable to her family ties.
When Dewey was around, they never had to openly establish it or say it. It was just kind of it was there. It was like an unwritten like rule or we've got your back. We're never going to go anywhere and you can trust us and we're always going to be here. And I love that we do 30 years. Like Sydney and Gail, they touch on that in the movie. Like it's been 30 years. They've gone through this for so long. Like it would be crazy not to think of them as family. Like Gail's Tatum's aunt is how I would have picture it. Is like if and a Dewey was still around, like they would be the crazy aunt and uncle. But like it is a familial bond, and it's something that you can't really replicate in a way.
Well, and like just to kind of like put a bow on this conversation and the comparison with Scream 6, I think the thing that makes the twins so good here is like we see the family connection through their comedy, through their banter, through them working together and through their ambition to like even break the rules together. And even just subtle things like the fact that Chad, Mindy really wants him to turn on the camera so that she can go live. And you know what? He does. He chooses his sister over his boss and Gail. They bring out a thriving aspect in each other as family members. There are things like that. And like also just like the again, I mentioned like the pressure point of Jessica pushing on like saying, "Ooh, Sydney, were you a good mom or a bad mom?" This is the same thing that comes along with and disrupts Sydney and Gail's relationship of 30 years, like you just described. Sydney becomes defensive and throws her relationship with Gail into possible turmoil in the interview
Mhm.
when Gail brings up her family, when Gail goes there. That's a pressure point for Sydney for the film. All that kind of comes together, I think, in the end, whenever Sydney delivers that speech to Tatum, and shares with her in such a vulnerable way about and being and how open she is with that ending. It's such an epic moment. And you know what's really cool about that? It's not just about Tatum and Sydney. It's not just about mother and daughter. You know what she says to Tatum after she goes through the big spiel? She says, "Let's go see your dad." So again, it's not even just about the girl power. It's about the family. It's about her
Yeah,
life.
yeah, exactly, and I love that Gail, though she is a little more vulnerable, we still see that kind of, like, spark in her when she does interview Sydney and asking about her children. I think it's very Gail. She's kind of always dug at Sydney, but I think deep down it's what Sydney needs. She kinda needs that, like, fire lit under her, kind of to pressure point her to make her realize, like, the different things that are at stake or, like, to kinda see things through a different lens, if that makes sense, because, in each movie, Gail has they've had that altercation, they've kind of had that, but it does make Sydney step back. It kinda goes back to when they're talking outside of her van in the first one, and she's like, "The killer's still out there, isn't he? He's still on the loose." It makes Sydney realize, like, this crap, like, "What have I been doing? What have I been chasing? What have I been telling myself this whole time? Like, what lies have I been feeding myself?" And it kind of feels that way, and I feel like that's Gail's role in her and Sydney's relationship is she's that friend and that family member who she's going to ask those tough questions. Like, she is going to make Sydney kind of feel uncomfortable so Sydney can realize, like, "Oh, crap, like, has my trauma or has, me protecting my kids, has this actually been the worst thing for them?" And kinda takes a step back and makes her realize it. So, like, I like that kind of bond and that kind of familial bond as well. It's like, because if you really love someone, like, you're not going to sugarcoat questions. You're not going to make life super easy for them. Like, yeah, you're gonna have their back, but you're gonna ask those questions that kind of make them uncomfortable. It kind of forces Sydney to kind of look at things in a different light and go, "Holy shit, was I overprotecting my child? And now did I do something to fuck it up?"
I completely agree. So, well, Kelly, is there anything else you'd like to share as final thoughts here for our Scream 7 discussion?
Overall, it's a fantastic addition to the franchise. I think the people that are hard on it, I think, it wouldn't be a Scream movie without the critics. It's just every decade we've had people be really hard on these films, and it's the only franchise that's ever really under like real scrutiny. But I would just like to say, to everyone, just, rewatch it, watch it from a different perspective. I think there's just something that you can learn from it or take away from it each and every time that you watch it. I do hope Jessica grows on people. Like I said, the first time I ever watched it, I knew the moment she was cast. I was like, Anna Camp's gonna be Ghostface, like, that's just all there is to it. And so, like, I kind of just felt that the whole and so when she was unmasked, I was like, "Oh, yeah, like, I was right, but how are they gonna spin it?" And, I feel like the critique with her is a little too harsh. Personally, I just think it was such a great addition, and I couldn't be any happier with the 7th film and how it was portrayed, and I hope people kind of, like, rewatch it with fresh eyes and open minds and open hearts. So
Awesome. Well, Kelly, thank you so much. And thank you for being a part of my community. I can't wait to talk to you again.
yes, of course.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Joining me today, I have a friend of the pod. He has been around for a long time, but he hasn't given his impression of Scream 7 yet. So, everyone, please welcome my friend, TikTok Jake, aka Scooby Scream. Hey, Jake.
Ryan, hi. Oh my goodness, it's been so long. I'm so excited to be back. I cannot believe this is the first time I'll be like sharing my, I feel like, unfiltered thoughts with you about Scream 7, apart from when I like texted you and like our voice messages. I cannot believe it. Just life has been so crazy, but I couldn't be happier to take a little break to sit down and chat with, my favorite Scream guy and my the Scream 3 connoisseur himself, Ryan C. Showers.
Well, so Jake, it's been a funny, long, winding road from like the time we became friends back in 2022 through now, where we kind of get our girl back and we got her back as the main character. We got a peek into her life, and we got Kevin Williamson directing the first time ever in the Scream franchise. I'm dying to hear your opinion about it, but let me tell you, not only am I interested in like sharing your opinion with my listeners, I have gotten messages from people asking me like, "Where is Scooby Scream? Why isn't he posting about Scream 7? Does he hate Scream 7?" So I'm going to turn it over to you. People are noticing that you've been absent from the conversation. So let's fire up that conversation here. I'm going to light the match. Hit me with it, Jake.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I think it's hilarious that you've gotten some messages saying that. To be honest, it makes sense because I've been sort of off the radar since, Scream 7. I was so excited and I did make some videos, like right after, but truly like in the interim since my last one, I really haven't been as active, and that's mostly attributable to just like starting a new job and some big like life changes. But I am happy to say that I love Scream 7. It was an instant love for me in the theater. I still remember going in, being a little nervous, just hearing like some maybe more mixed things, and obviously like that Rotten Tomatoes critic score, the Metacritic score. But I went in, I saw it for myself. I was the judge of it for myself. And I came out so happy, so excited, and just like, I was just like, we did it. We got it, guys. Like that was what I think I wanted to feel from Scream 5 and Scream 6, which people always go back and they'll watch like my immediate reaction and like I'm like fangirling so hard over 5 and 6. But listen, once the dust settles and like you reassess, those movies, I enjoy them. 5 I'm hotter on than 6, but I just think they have not aged well, whereas like 7, my thoughts on it now, I feel like are more or less the same since when I first walked out of it, just with the biggest smile on my face. Like, I thought Sydney's return was executed so well. I absolutely loved the character of Tatum. Isabel May's performance was just fantastic. I loved Mark Evans, and there are just so many things. But overall, like I'm very much happy with it, and I'm excited to chat more. But overall, it was Kevin Williamson hit close to a home run for me with 7. There are nitpicks, but like I'm Scream 7 is great. It's such a welcome addition to the franchise for me.
Okay, before we go to any more Scream 7 talk, I just want to address just as like, content creator to content creator. It is so annoying whenever people act as though we can't have changing views or evolving opinions. And I feel like Radio Silence's films are a very unique example of this because they are almost designed in a way to get the maximum impact on the first viewing in the moment you're in the theater. And then after that, like they age like milk. And that is what we've seen with Radio Silence. And like, I don't regret or begrudge anything in terms of like the way I covered 5 and 6 back in the day because, to be there in the moment and to live what we were living, and like to come out of even Scream 6 where I was still very critical of it at the time it released, but I was definitely more upbeat about it. And like how after you see that Gail Weathers phone call and chasing, how can you not be? But it's the after effects where, like you said, like the dust settles and some things, say standing tall, like Scream 7. And in my opinion, seeing Scream 7 was one of the most monumental theater going experiences of my life. But in addition to that, it's just gotten richer and richer every time you see it and you grow with it, and it just becomes like a part of your viewing experience, your Scream experience. But what are your thoughts, Drake?
I couldn't agree with you more. I think people need to realize that just like anything, like thoughts on film and media evolved. And I couldn't agree more with you when you say that like Radio Silence's Scream films were like a short-lived high, I would say. Like, you ride high on sort of like the fan service and Easter eggs, and you're really excited about them in the moment. But unfortunately, as time goes on, they become more and more hollow. And the dip that like I remember seeing 6 and I enjoyed certain aspects of it. Like I thought the set pieces were great. I think that some of these set pieces are still great, but in terms of their feeling like a Scream movie, it just does not for me. It almost feels like generic set pieces and just like, as much as I loved that shrine, I think it's probably the most ridiculous level of fan service ever. And so anyone saying Scream 7 had too much fan service, like literally Scream 6 has the shrine, which is like 10 to 15 minutes of screen time just spent, like going over other elements from the other film. So that's why whenever people, are critical of Scream 7 for any sort of like little Easter eggs or fan service, which I think there were some in it, but they were executed much better. I just sort of, shake my head at that.
Well, so can I ask, because how many times have you seen it? How many times did you see it in theaters versus VOD over the past couple of months?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, to be honest, I wish that I could have watched it even more than I have since it released. Like I said, I've been busy with just life things, but I saw it exactly. I saw it in theaters 3 times. I was a part of the opening weekend, which I mean, just still cannot get over that high and just like hype. It was incredible to like live through the highest grossing opening for the franchise and now the highest grossing film in the franchise. Like, it's just incredible. But I think I saw it about 3 times in theaters, and I've watched it, I want to say twice after buying it after it came out. And I want to watch it more. To be honest, I haven't watched any of the Scream films. I'm sort of in a Scream drought right now, and I haven't been watching that many movies at all. The only one I've seen recently was Obsession, which I really enjoyed. But that just sort of goes to show, how busy life has been on my end. But Scream 7, I like I said, I think I'm either on the same level of loving it that I was when I first saw it, or it's even grown on me. Like especially the ending, and the meta nature of the sort of parasocial relationship. Like I am telling you right now, Ryan, all of these people hating on 7, I know them, you know them. Give it a couple years, that Scream 4 effect is going to roll right around, baby, and they're going to be talking about how it was so ahead of its time, the parasocial aspect. I mean, that ending, it was so brilliant. Like Jessica hidden in plain sight and she killed her own kid. Like, oh my gosh, that's brutal. I like just let's come back to this in a couple of years. And I lived through the Scream 4 is mid, like blah 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 blah. Well, look now, it's a fan favorite and everybody loves it. So I think that Scream 7 will have a similar trajectory. I don't think anyone can deny that this was one of, if not the best Sydney performance and one of Gale Weathers' best, like maybe the best after Scream 2 or after 2 and 4. But like this was a banger movie for Sydney and Gale, and like no one can take that away.
Well, and that's the thing. I was actually thinking about this like over the week. I'm trying to figure out my new Sydney and my new Gale rankings. And, I think like Sydney in 3 and Gale in 2. I mean, I think like we can, like, as the Scream community, can come together and be like, yes, that's a good, best of for each of them before Scream 7. But I think Scream 7 gives each of those performances like a run for their money, whether, Scream 7's better than 3 for Nev, whether Scream 7's better than 2 for Courtney. I think that there is a conversation to be had there. The fact that we get both of these performances, both of these executions of these characters in the same movie at this moment, it just by Kevin Williamson, by Kevin Williamson, that's really important. I think it's really
Yeah.
overwhelming, and it just shows how Scream 7, how much of an impact it had. So I have to ask, you mentioned Scream 5 and 6 and like your evolving feelings about them being partly about like, does it feel like a Scream movie? Do you think that Scream 7 feels like a Scream movie? Do you think it's like a new version of a Scream movie, or is it like, compared to Wes Craven's films? What are your thoughts?
It feels like a Wes Craven film to me, but it feels like a Kevin Williamson tribute. to Wes, but a film that Wes would have seen and been proud of. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah, that's what I'll say.
Well, and the thing is, I was really pleased to hear you just compliment Jessica and the finale because, like, I've been really flying the Jessica flag really high, and it's crazy how much people aren't getting it. And I really think that people just are trying not to like it, or trying, or just viewing it in the most simplistic ways. I almost feel like Scream Six fried everybody's brains of, like, maybe even 5 and 6 fried everyone's brains of, like, what a Ghostface reveal and motive is supposed to be. Like, 5, we get the one line about toxic fans, and then that's supposed to be changing the world. In Scream 6, I don't know why. I don't know what we were going with there. But then,
Oh my
I
gosh.
guess all the killers, the one faked their death, and the other two, they were in every scene, with the girls. Okay, sure, groundbreaking. But I
Yeah.
think
Do people have amnesia when they come after Scream Seven's ending? Like, do they not remember how 6 ended and how
yeah.
much of a just total clusterfuck of an ending it was? Before the two girls walk off, into the evening or whatever, that part is good. But I mean, Detective Bailey, Ethan Quinn, that was probably the lowest point, I think, of the
Of the series.
entire
Yeah.
franchise. So that's why I'm like, I could not have been more pleased with how 7 ended, especially because I think it shook things up. Like, we do not need to be paint by numbers. This needs to be a family member, or it has to be the boyfriend. Like, it was just so refreshing to have it finally be probably the most original reveal since 4, and in some ways more original than 4, since that was, just a family member. Even though I will say the 4, reveal, and I think finale personally hits a bit stronger for me, but I really enjoyed 7. I think that Anna Camp was fantastic. If anything, I wish we would have gotten more screen time from her.
I think people are having amnesia about that finale and those killers. So here's my thing. I think people thought 5 was so groundbreaking because Richie said, "How can fandom be toxic?" Period. The end of story. No other exploration of that theme. And I think I think people would train themselves to think, "Oh, well, that's what we should expect. We should expect, like, this, cunty one-liner, and, like, we'll be good." And then, like, if we have, killers like Detective Bailey and Ethan, who are in every scene, who are in the shrine, who are here, who are there in the subway, if that's who a serial killer should be, then yeah, Jessica, who is more of like a Mickey Roman type killer, who's sparingly used, and she has a very complex motive, and it's about
Yes.
all these little pieces that we hear from her in the finale and how they all add up to something. That's what Scream is really about. It's about pushing and challenging the audience. It's not just about, like, a one-line thesis that doesn't go anywhere like Scream 5 gave us. It's challenging people. And I think it's going to end up exactly like you did. But, you're a tough critic. You've always been really tough and held a high standard to these movies. So the fact that if Jessica gets your thumbs up makes me feel, confirmed in my approach here, which is that Jessica rules.
Jessica rules. Best Ghostface since Jill Roberts, 100%. I think there could be a case made, not for you, obviously, that she's up there with Roman.
She
But
is. I mean, I would probably put
yeah,
her in my top 5 ghost faces.
great. What bothered me when I first watched it was there's a moment, like when they're in the cafe, that conversation she's having with Sydney, where I was like, her acting seems a bit odd, or like is a little off to me. Like, I don't know that I love this performance. But then I'm like, wait, that's because she's quite literally giving a performance. It's brilliant if you think about it. Like, she's thinking so hard about everything that she says, because she obviously doesn't want to blow her cover or be perceived as a suspect. And like, I encourage people, though she has limited screen time, if you go back and watch those scenes with Anna Camp, specifically the one in the cafe, the one where she's at the theater when, the police are there, like, she makes very subtle, smart decisions that I really think make for just enjoyable watches. And I'm just like, I could not be happier with that casting choice. And Jessica is great. Now, the downside is Marco, not so great, but I think that's the point.
Well, so Jake, we spent a lot of time, you and I, talking about the return of Sydney, even like basically from the beginning of our friendship, because we became friends right around the time that Nev announced that she wasn't coming back for Scream 6. So from the beginning of our friendship, really, through now, we have been waiting for the return of Sydney Prescott and the return of her as the main character. So tell me more about that. What did you think of Nev? How did Sydney deliver for you over this long period of time?
Ryan, she absolutely crushed it. She nailed it. And it's truly like her love for the character and the franchise that I think just made this truly like up there, the upper echelon of Nev performances as Sydney. I was so pleased, so happy with it, especially her moments, like so like tender and motherly and defensive with Tatum. That was what I wanted from this movie, and we got that in spades. So I could not have been happier with her return. I hope and am fairly confident she will be back in 8. Maybe not in the same capacity, of course, because I do think it is natural to have the focus be shifted to Tatum. But like, how just blessed and lucky are we to now have this film, a Sydney focused and led film where Nev Campbell was paid her worth. She could have been paid even more, to be honest, with how much this grossed and how captivating and just excellent she was in this role. And just like how rewarding as fans for us to like see her come back, step into this role as if no time had passed at all. And like not just having it be 10 minutes or so that she gets in 5 where she's, walking through a house, holding the gun. And mind you, probably giving the best performance of that film, only having that short of screen time and making such a big impression. This movie just like I'm so happy with the time that she got. I love the time that she spent with Gail. It's just wonderful to see her as a mom. And it's been said before on your show, and I'll say it again, like making mistakes and not being the perfect mom and not being, this Laurie Strode training, Tatum to know and to do everything. Because what parent wants to have to do that to their kid? Sydney was being a mom the way that she knew how, and she did not want to have to. And she did not want to have to imprint upon her daughter or instill upon her the same fear she'd had to live through her whole life. And I just thought that that was such a smart and well executed way to go about it. And again, something that's only going to age well and get better with time. And I believe that reassessments of this film, especially after all of the Melissa boycotting, etc., I think are going to be just so favorable.
I love Isabel May. I think she was phenomenal. But for me, it was so clear walking out of Scream 7 that Nev is like, if I was doing like a top 5 performances, like, it's so clear. It hasn't been this clear since the original trilogy in terms of like, my ranking. It would go like Nev at number 2. Even though I love Isabel, I'll put Isabel at 3 and then Anna Camp at 4. Courtney Cox is number 2. Like, this is, as much as this is a Sydney movie, this is also a Sydney and Gail movie. And you're a huge Gail Weathers fan.
You and I have talked about this. I've heard it on your show. I've heard other people say this. Like, Gail in Scream 5 and Scream 6 was truly just not the Gail that we knew. 6 is just, apart from her chase scene, it's an atrocity. It's an abomination. It's an assault on on her character. 5 was not a whole lot better. I think that the writing for the character of Gail was just pretty half-assed and half-baked in 5 and 6. And Courtney Cox, God love her, she did the best with what she was given. But it was such a sweet and fulfilling return to form. Like, having Kevin writing this, penning the characters that he created, like every line that Gail said was a cheer and an applause from the audience. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it was in the OG, how it was in 2, how it was in 3, how it was in 4, 5 and 6, not the same. 7, we were right back there. And her introduction was possibly the best introduction we have to Gail Weathers in the franchise, apart from possibly her intro in Scream 2, when she's on the phone and, talking about the box office that the movie's going to do. But just could not have been happier with Gail. Such smart, witty dialogue. Truly a return to form. And just the moment, like that interview with her and Sydney and the emotion that those two convey, specifically Gail, when Sydney says that Tatum, was the only one that she ever trusted, like just chills. It was perfect.
Yeah. Well, no, I completely agree. And like the thing is, like, I love that this Gale is the first. This Gale feels the most like Scream 4 Gale. So it's almost like the Kevin Williamson version of Gale came back. Fuck the fuck off. Like, that
Fuck
is
the fuck
pure
up. Yes.
Gale Weathers Scream Force. Do you have like a favorite sequence or set piece? Like, if you had to say, like, what would be the masterpiece sequence of the film? What would you say?
Oh my goodness, Ryan. Everything from when Sydney and Tatum get home and the sequence, everybody says it, but I really think it is the answer. The sequence in the house when they're being chased by Ghostface, and we get the Evans family putting up a fight. Everything from there on to Gail's entrance, I think was just so masterfully done. But if you're asking me the singular moment that I love the most, it's at the end, Sydney and Tatum's conversation. Chills, tears, emotion. That's a moment that's going to live on and really resonate, I think, with so many people. And just like, it's gonna make me tear up every time, because that is like that family bond, family ties. That's what it's all about. And that's another big reason why I think Wes especially would have been so pleased and happy with how this turned out, because, and you talked about it in your New Nightmare episode, that Wes was all about family and trauma and bonds, and just how tragedies and things like this impact the family. And we get to see that on full display in Scream 7. And that was very special.
Yeah. Well, so I wanted to ask, we got a different kind of Scream movie here in terms of the locations, the production, the music went back to Marco Beltrami. We're in a real town. And the cinematography is definitely different from the radio silence era.
So much better.
And we went back to the Mocker House, which is one of your pain points about Scream
Yes.
5. So would you like to just share any of your thoughts about the production?
Ryan, everyone listening, if they've heard me talk about this before, knows what I'm going to say. I've voiced this, I think, on X and on TikTok. But I mean, God, like, this just eons above the production value of 5 and 6. The fact that we're actually driving up to a place that was constructed, a frame of the house, and going full on, with the set pieces, and just everything felt like a real town. It felt grounded. It felt cinematic. Just everything about it was much better than 5 and 6 from, I think, a cinematography and location and just world building standpoint. I still can't get over how claustrophobic 5 and even parts of 6 feel, and just not feeling like they were actually in New York for 6, which I think is a problem that a lot of people have. But I couldn't have been happier, especially like when Tatum's running around town. Like, that is a real town. You feel it. You're in the moment with her. Like, Pine Grove is real. And I love like Sydney running around town too, and like going back to the house, and just like, you totally get the small town vibe. It brought me back to how I felt when I watched, 1 and 2. Even though Windsor College, obviously, that was, not Woodsboro. It was still a campus town and vibe, and that I think they mastered well. And Kevin and crew did such a great job with creating that in 7. And it was there in 4 as well, but I think 7 did just as good, if not a better job of that.
Did you like the opening?
I did. Oh my gosh. I really, really enjoyed the opening. I thought it was great, having been to the house, which anyone who's talked to me knows. I went there, the real house in, I think it's Petaluma. Yeah. Up in the Sonoma County area. Like, it was such a treat to see, what seemed like myself and everything that I did at the house, like going into the closet. I actually got locked in the closet. Funny story, the same closet that Sydney bursts out of with the ghost face mask. But it was such a treat to see those two in the house. And, I thought everything with the animatronic was so fresh, and the homage to Halloween was such a great, little Easter egg callback. And I just thought it was fresh. It was original. It was a perfect way to start the movie. And God, can I just add that I am so exhausted of the people who say, well, it doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the plot. It's so disconnected. If I had a shot for all of those, I'd be dead. So I'm tired of hearing that. At this point, Ryan, do we need to explain the connection?
No,
I'm tired of it. I'm tired of having to explain, the connection, and like, it makes perfect sense. If you missed it, then you didn't watch the movie, or you weren't paying close enough attention. Why does everything, Ryan, have to be so black and white? Can there not be any sort of nuance, or just did we become so brain rotted that everything has to be spelled out? I think that is truly, it is a symptom of 5 and 6. Everything was just laid out so just sharply and like cookie cutter. And 7, I love that it veered away from that. So I really enjoyed the opening. I think it's actually top three openings, top 3 or 4. No, top 3, I would say. Yeah.
The twins and Mark. We have new survivors. We have what feel like new characters to me in the twins. So what are your thoughts on the other leads here?
11 out of 10. Mark, perfect. Mindy, perfect. Chad, perfect. Neither of them were stabbed an unbelievable amount of times, and we didn't have to see Mindy running back in a blanket after being stabbed 50 times, acting like she was fine because she took some medicine, or Chad talking to Tara at the end of 6 after being bludgeoned and stabbed 25 times on both sides by 2 ghost faces. Enough. 7 said enough is enough. We got no annoying monologue from Mindy. She was incorporated so naturally and organically into the plot, as was Chad. I thought it was a perfect segue to have Mindy want to, sort of go the reporter route, or even like content creator. And just, they were playful, they were fun. It was just enough of both of them. And I could not have been more pleased with Mark Evans. Joel McHale, above and beyond, low-key an MVP, which I've said in some posts, but I loved him. Perfect yin to Sydney's yang, and I'm excited to see him again in Scream 8.
I'm glad to hear it because, like, I mean, Mindy really needed that justice, I think, and I think they gave it to her. It's like the
After
wonders.
6, oh my gosh, yeah, like, that was a painful dialogue. Actually, again, one of the lowest points for me is Mindy's dialogue in the park on the Blackmore campus. Just so forced and tired. I'm glad that we didn't have to sit through that again.
Yeah.
And that she didn't have to do that again, because I'm sure she was tired of that.
It doesn't make sense to give her like a storyline where she gets to aspire to be something and she gets a little mini arc where, the whole movie she's trying to like, she wants to push forward and really become this journalist allegedly, but it's, and Gail gives her that opportunity at the end. Like, it's just like, I love that.
Perfect.
And that she and Chad get to just hang out and be siblings. And like, that's where like his personality comes out. It's just like the perfect ingredient. And like, it's just like they became so much stronger and more important to the Scream formula without Samantera. Like, I really do believe Samantera held the twins back, which may be a hot take, but it is what it is.
They were complementary in this film, and they were shoehorned in the last 2, especially 6. And yeah, thank you so much to Kevin and to the crew of this one for doing wonders with, making them feel like a really good fit for this movie. It was great.
So last question, Jake. What is your updated Scream ranking?
My updated Scream ranking is 3, 2. No, I'm kidding. I know. I had to do it, Ryan.
I was like, is he going backwards?
Maybe one day. No. That was going to be going from, how should I do it? From favorite to least favorite?
Yeah, best to worst. Yeah.
Okay, best to worst. Okay, best is of course 2. That will never change unless there's some kind of apocalypse or earth-shattering event, or Scream 8 resurrects Tatum or something. I don't know. But 2 is my absolute favorite. Then after 2, I would say 1. After 1 is 4, but 4 is very close to 7. So I'm putting 7 after 4. And then 3, but
Yay!
3 and 7 are close, to be honest. Like, 3 could jump ahead of 7, especially because of that Sydney performance. Like, there's even a world where 3 could be my number 3 after 2 and 1. So we'll see. Maybe by the end of this year, Ryan.
Listen, I don't mean to hijack your ranking, but I think any ranking, we have 7 movies now. 5 of them have Nev Campbell. All 5 are just so excellent in their own ways. You could give me any ranking of this 5 and I would get it. I would understand it. I would cheer for it. So I love your ranking. I love that all of the Sydney movies are together before what's coming, next.
Yep. And then after 3, we have 5, which 5 has honestly grown on me. Solid entry. Love the shakeup of the opening. I still have said, I think it's pretty objective that Melissa Barrera's performance as Sam is just not, it's not great. She really rebounded and was excellent in 6, but the performance just isn't there in 5, which is, I think, something that drags it down for me. But I do really enjoy 5, like Wes and Judy. That's a really effective, great sequence. I do think the ending is decent. And like I said, I like the opening. And then in last place is 6. Just it's in a league of its own in terms of its quality, and it's a good action movie. It's a bad Scream movie.
Yeah.
It's a decent slasher thriller. It's just not up to par with the other films, and that's a shame. But yeah, that's it. So to recap, 2 at the top, 1, 4, 7, 3, 5, 6.
Beautiful. Jake, please tell everybody where they can find you online.
Yes, you can find me, and I always say Ryan helped me trademark this name, but I'm at ScoobyScream on X/Twitter and Instagram. You can find me at ScoobyScream, and then I am on TikTok at Jake Lubb, where I hope to be more active soon. But once we get that Scream 8 announcement, it'll be full steam ahead. And we have some exciting developments coming, I'm sure, about this new Scooby-Doo live action series, which I'm so excited about too. So I'll hopefully be posting about that more in the not too distant future.
Cool. Well, Jake, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All copyrighted material used or referenced in this show belong to their rightful owners and made possible by the Fair Use Act.
And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
Get another beer, you want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back!
Dear God, Ryan,